Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Luminous Human School. We are on episode 2. I'm Kristi, and I'm here with Lindsay.
Hey.
And we, as you may know, did an opening ceremony for our first episode. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, we would love to have you go back and check that out. It's something we really created from such a heartfelt space, and we wanted to honor what we're doing here with this podcast and really honor the new beginning and the container of what we're creating here. And we wanted to create something that is also for you, that you can use for your new beginnings as a way to drop in and honor anything that you're launching, beginning, creating in your life. And so we hope that that will be a great source of support for you and a place to connect into your heart. Connect your heart to your new beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Thank you.
It was a special ceremony. It was really, I felt a lot of beauty in that. So yes, please go check that out if you
Yeah.
haven't already. Um, and just enjoy it.
Yeah. And so today we thought we would share who we are.
Who we are. Who are we?
Who are those two?
I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'll share what I can.
Yeah, just so you can know a little bit more about us and what brought us here, and feel like you have a sense of where we're coming from, and feel closer to us, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And share, yeah, like what brought us together. How did we meet? And some of the ideas behind why we created this podcast to begin with, like really what the inspiration and the spark was behind all of that. So, yeah, here we are.
Well, let's see. So I'll start. I'm Kristi, and I have been really, I guess, how do I want to phrase it? Sparked or called to spiritual healing arts from a very early age. When I was still a teenager, my mom took me to a 3-day meditation weekend, which she had met someone who was hosting it, and she thought it would be a great thing for us to do together. And it was
That's so cool.
it was really beautiful.
Aw.
And it really just lit a deep passion in me for meditation. And I think, I've tried to remember this so many times, if I had already expressed an interest in this type of thing, and that's why my mom had thought to do this, or if this was the beginning, and I honestly cannot remember. But it's definitely like an anchor moment that I remember just kind of launching me into this inner world and these beautiful states of consciousness that I was able to connect with through meditation. And how, as a young person, that was something that I really needed. And I was still, I guess, very disconnected from self and searching outside of myself, and felt very much like I had no idea what I wanted to do and what really I felt passionate about, like what could really carry me through something that, oh, this is what I want to do. And
Mm.
it was a long time before I figured that out, but
Oh, that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, you were a teenager. Like, I don't know what teenager has it all figured out. I mean, it took me a long time.
yeah, teenager through my 20s, you know,
For
but that
real,
was
yeah.
just sort of, well, not sort of, but that was a moment that just stands out to me as something really special and something that was a defining moment
Mm,
in finding the heart of who I am.
mm.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, it's making me kind of think of like my first, start. But you can keep going, and I can revisit my
Okay. Okay. It's
beginning.
yeah. So I won't tell you my whole life story right
What?
now.
You won't?
It all started when my mom and dad met
Oh,
just out of
wow.
college.
This is now going to be a 5-hour episode.
So fast forward, I was teaching meditation in Los Angeles and found Reiki and just dove in headfirst to receiving actually Reiki before I learned to do it, and spent a couple years receiving Reiki from a Reiki master and really growing up through that process, growing into more of my adult self
Mm,
and learning even more how to tune in and uh, find my inner yes and inner no,
hmm,
and connect to spirit and ask for guidance. And so it was a time when my spirituality became a very integral, yes, part.
Now I'm like, wait, that
It
sounds right.
didn't sound right all of a sudden. Well, anyway, part of who I am. So
Right.
it was a weaving. It was a weaving, and probably, I would say, of my true self, an awakening.
Mm,
And yeah, so much growth during that time. And so when I had the opportunity to do the training and become a Reiki master, I just jumped on it and really from that point forward just never looked back,
mm,
and
cool.
started offering sessions, and over time just continuing to study and learn and grow and follow my passions within the healing realm,
Mm,
have been widely varied. But
yeah.
I've spent time studying near death experiences, sound healing, grief recovery, intuitive communication, animal communication. And yeah, it's just all it's just been so beautiful. I love it so much.
Mm, sounds
And
amazing.
about I've been practicing breath work on and off for probably 15 years, but about 6 years ago, decided I wanted to become a certified breathwork practitioner,
Hmm.
and studied with a few different people. And I guess jumping ahead, I could say that's where we met, was
Yeah.
We both became trainers for an international breathwork school.
Hmm.
Um, and and that's where this whole idea was seeded and bloomed and was born.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And like thinking of so many moments, like as you're telling your story, like so many moments of like the like semi-subtle intuitive hits I've had that have like brought me onto this path where I just said yes. And we can kind of like get into that a little bit more in a moment. But I just want to make sure like like I want to share, but I want to make sure you're feeling complete so far with what what you're
if
sharing.
yeah, thank you. If I think something else pops in,
Yeah,
I'll
it
raise
will.
my I'll raise my
Oh
hand.
yeah. Yes, please do. Raise. Because like you know, you got me right. I was like, oh, how far back do I go? My life story, you know. But as you were sharing, I was thinking of kind of that first I don't know, moment, I guess that defining moment, or at least one of the first defining moments for me. And it made me think of when I was in college, and I think I was maybe maybe a sophomore, junior now, I don't even remember. But I had a roommate who was taking a yoga class as like an elective. Is that what they're called now? Like, yeah, an elective, just like another type of
Yeah.
credit. And I hadn't really like heard much of yoga. I probably heard of it. I mean, this was early 2000s. and she's like, you should take it. It's really fun. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. Like, yeah, I want to take yoga. And I feel like that was sort of like one of the first things that kind of got me on the path towards, I guess, teaching like later on. Um, but it was like, okay, yoga, this is really cool. And then like I took another yoga class, and then I took a yoga that was more into the philosophy and like just diving a bit deeper. And yeah, there was stuff before that, but I just feel like that was kind of one of those defining moments, like looking back at the path of like that was so necessary because, you know, later on I became a yoga teacher. So it was like 8, 9, 10 years later, I was like, I want to teach yoga now. But like through that time, I had my ebbs and flows with yoga. I was like, I'm doing yoga all the time. And then I was like, I'm like, I'm not doing yoga. And now I'm doing yoga again. And now I'm not. And like, you know, this was my 20s. So there's a lot of different things happening, kind of what you were saying. That's like, your attention's over here. And what am I doing with this? And I got to figure this out. And I got to be an adult somehow. You know, so there's a lot happening in those years. Um, but yeah, I mean, and then even before I became a yoga teacher, I wanted to become a health coach. And this was like after college, and I started to realize more of what I wanted to do after I graduated college.
Which I think is so normal. I
I think
mean,
so.
how do you know what you want to do with your life when you're 18 or 19?
Gosh, I
I mean,
definitely felt
some
that
people
pressure.
do, but
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those.
I mean, I went into college undecided. I felt like such a pressure to know what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life, and was like,
Mm,
I barely know who I am. How do I, you know, that was, yeah, that was,
yeah,
but it gave me the opportunity to like take different classes and see what interested me. Um, and like, I think it's okay that, you know, for a lot of people too, it's like you might have studied something in college, and then, you know, after you graduate and later on, you take a totally different path. And it's like, that was still necessary. You know, stuff that all the classes that I took and what I studied, like, I still feel like it was helpful for me. And
of course. Yeah.
yeah, I don't regret any of it. So,
One of my favorite things I learned in college, one of my professors said to me, you know, necessarily come to college to find your career. You come to
Mm.
college to learn how to learn. It's like,
Mm.
that's what you're doing here. You're learning how to learn, you're learning how to study, you're learning how to take in information in a meaningful way, combine it with other information,
Mm.
create something new with it.
Yeah.
He's like, those are the skills you're going to use for the rest of your life, no matter what you do.
So true. I love that.
And that was another light bulb moment where I just thought, oh, okay, I can run with that.
Yeah, that is something I can work with. That makes more sense. It, takes the pressure off a little bit of needing to have everything figured out right now.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like all of that is necessary. And, I don't want to look back and be like, why did I study that? Like, it's like, no, I learned a lot. It was good. It was really good. So, um, but kind of coming back into this like intuition that we've kind of touched on that we're gonna expand on a little bit more. One of those things for me, there was sort of this like, I guess, intuitive hit that really was important for my path was this desire to go to Hawaii. And
Mm.
actually, I'd been there before, and like those islands after the first time I went were just like, come back, Lindsay, come back. you know, that feeling.
Yes.
And I kept, finding this place pop up. And finally, it was just one of those big leaps where it's like, I'm going to go here for like 6 months. I'm just going to get up, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to go. And this is a little scary, but like, I'm going to go. And that same place was offering, or like the person I learned yoga from, he was like doing intensive yoga teacher training, and I was like, oh, perfect. I can go like live in Hawaii for a bit. I can get certified as a yoga instructor. And if I had not taken that big leap to just go off and do that, like, I mean, things would be different for sure. But that was, a really beautiful part of my path, and just listening to this, like, okay, this is scary, but I'm going to do it. And it was one of the best like times of my life. I mean, it's a time that I remember so fondly, and just like have so much love for the people I met and the experiences that I had, and just so much expansion and beauty and love.
Mm.
And it's just, yeah, it's one of those times in my life that I'm like, that was magic. That was absolute magic. Yeah, so I'll kind of like fast forward there. But yeah, so like yoga, has been a very big part of my journey, and it still is. And it's something that always in those moments where I'm kind of away from yoga, maybe not practicing as much and not doing as much, it's always calling me back. And it's always like, hey, I'm here for you. It's like a good friend that's like, when you're ready, I'm going to be right here for you. So, yeah, I mean, I found Reiki as well. I didn't dive into it quite as much as you have in your past and your current reality. It's still something that calls to me, but yeah, so I found that, and then definitely found breath work. And um, again, breath work was one of those things. It was like this little kind of intuitive hit where I feel like I had just found it and practiced a little bit, and then something in me was just like, go for it. Like, do the training, do it. Like, I can't even explain it. It was just something in me that was, I don't know, my mind started going off like, I don't know, should I do it? What can I do with that? How much is it? And then I was like, no, just go for it. And
Yeah.
I did.
It's so interesting because that's how my breathwork journey started too.
Mm,
It was really like a divine lightning strike that was just like this, yes, now.
yeah. This, yes, now. And then the mind starts to go, but what about? And then you're like, no, but it said this just now. But the fear and the this and the worry and that.
That
Yeah.
all came up. It did. It came up after the this, yes, now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. It was a training, like your training in Hawaii. This training was in Bali. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was traveling a great distance. I was still completing a healing journey, a physical healing journey that I was on. So which I won't even go into now. It's a whole other story for
Yeah.
another
Another
time.
episode.
but but it was a big one, and when I saw this training, I was like, oh boy, do I have the energy, the stamina to make this big leap? But at the same time, that inner yes had been so clear. Like, I saw the training, I saw that the registration was closing soon,
Mm-hmm.
which for me was a great thing because it helped me to not be able to have time to talk myself out of it. There
Mm-hmm.
was an application process, so I immediately filled out the application and sent it in.
Nice.
And a couple days later, when I got the acceptance and then the information about, booking my ticket and finding a place to stay in Bali, that's,
Mm-hmm.
when those little
Yeah.
sparkles, I will say, that are fear/excitement, but also the thoughts that can just be so detrimental to doing anything new and different.
Yeah.
So yeah, those all came up, but that initial yes was so clear for me that it
Mm,
was a place I could always go back to and say, no, when that came through, it felt like a divine communication.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's like I have felt that too. And it has been a process over time of hearing it and understanding what it is and um going for it to recognize that it's like part of the divine flow. Like sometimes you do just have to trust it and take that leap, and that first time can be like, I don't know, was that what it was happening? I don't know. But that's why it is like a practice in and of itself
It is.
of starting to feel what it feels like for you, and what it sounds like, what it looks like, all those things, and that can vary person to person. But at least for me, it's even if there is fear around something and like the monkey mind is like, thinking of all these different excuses, when I really sit with whatever it is that's like calling me forward, usually if it's like I should move forward with it, it feels expansive. It
Yes.
feels like, oh, okay, my shoulders want to come back. I feel tall, I feel proud, I feel my heart expanding. And it feels good, even if that scary fear is still there. It's like, I don't know, like the mind, going off. But
Yeah, I think that is definitely how it feels for me too, in the initial yes. So
yes.
I think for me, the practice is really noticing when that initial yes happens. Because
Hmm.
later, when the fear comes in, even if I'm trying to tune back in, like, wait, was this really a yes? When the fear voices are active, I can't get always that yes again.
Yeah.
But if I can go back and remember that the initial yes was there and that expansive inner feeling, that heart opening feeling was there in
Yeah.
that moment where I said yes, that's kind of again, that anchor place I can go back to and say, no, you know what? I'm really super scared right now.
Yeah.
And I want to talk myself out of this, but I remember when I go back, it wasn't, and I'm not sure,
Mm,
maybe this could be a good direction to go in. Maybe I'll give it a shot. It was a yes.
yeah. You know, you made me think of kind of actually back to our like story of coming together.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I do want to keep sharing that too.
yeah, yeah, because and what stands out to me is like we were in a Zoom meeting together with other people because we were um
we
wanting to
were,
pair up to work on a project. Wait, were you gonna
yeah,
say
we were
something?
all mentors in a program.
Yes. And so like we were kind of going on the next like step of this certification process. And part of that was finding people to do one-on-one breathworks together. And so some of us mentors were like, well, let's, create a group together. We can read a book together. We can partner up and do breathworks. And there was what, maybe 6 of us in the meeting.
Yeah, I think there was about 8 in the group and
Oh,
maybe
was it?
6 who were in that meeting at
Oh,
that moment. Yeah.
right. And I just remember like we were all kind of sharing a little bit about ourselves and what we were wanting to accomplish and that sort of thing. And I just remember, and it was kind of subtle, like it wasn't this huge loud voice, but I was like hearing you and I was like, I want to work with Kristi. Like there's something in me which is like, I want to connect with her. I don't know her, but I want to connect with her.
And
And I think you said something similar.
exactly. We had both shared this to each other later, a few months after this, but I had the exact same feeling in that meeting when we were talking about partners. I was thinking and feeling, you know, I really want to partner with Lindsay. And
Yes.
it's interesting because we didn't know each other. There were some of us in that group knew each other really well.
Hmm.
And Lindsay actually was friends with one person in that group and had come in through her.
Yes.
And so we didn't know each other at all.
Not at all. This is the first time we met,
Hmm.
for sure.
But we both really, for me, the yes was very clear.
Mm,
I think at that point I had a lot of practice honing
mm.
and working with what feels like a yes to me and what feels like a no to me, because I have a history of having trouble making decisions. So, years ago when I learned that there's a way to feel into the body, to muscle test different practices for cultivating clarity,
Mm,
I was just, okay, let's do this. I need this so much.
yeah.
So I've been working with that for a long time, but it was so clear to me. I was just like, I don't want to hurt any feelings, but I choose Lindsay.
But you did it in like in such a way that it was sort of like we were talking about, everyone was kind of sharing what they were wanting to accomplish. And the way you did it was sort of like, well, Lindsay, it kind of sounds like we have the same goals and a pretty similar schedule of when we want to meet. Do you want to partner up? And it was like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Like
And it did. It wasn't,
it was
yeah, it wasn't
it
like,
flowed really, yeah, you
no.
weren't like trying to be like, okay, how do I
And I'm just joking about that. I was, there's nobody was like, you didn't pick me. It wasn't like picking people on a softball team in
now,
elementary
Kristi, who do
school.
you want?
Right. It was
No.
flowing. It was flowing, and everybody, it was
Yeah.
just, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
joking.
But no, and it does like it does feel like such a beautiful like divine flow really of how we came together, and then really so much after that of how we continued to work together and have worked together and gotten to this point has felt very in this like beautiful flow of it just landing in place because we keep saying yes to it because it
Yeah.
feels like a yes, and it's like, yeah, let's do that. Oh, let's okay, let's do that.
Yeah, so it felt like a really beautiful way. We were both looking for more ways to share all this knowledge that we've gathered over many years.
Yeah.
And I I I think I had come up with the idea. I've been sitting with the idea for a while of doing a podcast.
Hmm.
And in the meantime, we were on Zoom every week doing class planning, lesson plans,
Hmm.
scheduling our students for things,
And
and then
we'd also done a bunch of breath works together.
and then yes, we led each other
Yeah.
through breathwork sessions, and then through our lesson planning, we would finish getting our classes together, and then would flow into these beautiful conversations.
Hmm.
And as I was thinking about doing a podcast at some point, I think I brought it up to you, and we had thought, well, we're already talking about what we're working on, the practices that are working for us, manifestation techniques, and
Yep.
what we're creating, and how we want to share all this information
Hmm.
that we're collecting, and to have a way to share
Yeah.
that is available to everyone, not
Yes.
just through paying for one-on-one sessions.
Right.
So, we just wanted to create something that anybody could tune into anytime, and feel supported and feel like they're not alone,
Hmm.
and to know that even with everything that we've learned and practiced and taught, we're still learning and growing, and still
Always.
have challenges,
Oh my gosh.
and that part of life will always continue, but there's ways to move through those challenges that
Mhm.
feel so much better
Yeah.
than other ways.
Yeah.
So we just felt like if we could share ways to move through challenges that make it
Yes.
feel so much more purposeful and so much more connected to inner guidance and
Yeah.
spirit, and feel supported in community,
Yeah.
that just felt like all of the pieces coming together in a beautiful offering.
Yeah. And some of our sharing, our conversations from the start, especially when we were reading a specific book and kind of going through these practices, we would talk about different challenges that were coming up. And that's what sparked a lot of our like really beautiful conversations too. It's like, wow, okay, this is how I'm moving through this. And like, this is what I thought about. And this is what's alive for me now. And I think there's such a beautiful power in that like vulnerability of sharing what challenges are arising as well. And for sure, that's going to be more of a practice in this podcast as we're sharing like some challenging things that arise and what we're working through, and all the beautiful manifestations that come about too. Like we just want to share it all, and like also um have people who can come and be like, oh, I've felt that too, or I'm also challenged with this right now, or kind of struggling through this, and it feels really good to hear somebody else talk about it and what worked for them. And just like you said, that kind of sense of connection and community, and reminding people that like they're not alone in this human experience. It's like
Yeah,
it's
we
wild.
all need to hear that. We all need to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those moments where I hear someone talking about something that I thought was sort of a private thought in my head.
Mm,
And
mhm.
then I think, oh, you do that too, or you think that too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, but other
that's
people,
really comforting.
right? It is because a lot of times we can think like, oh, I'm so alone in this, or I'm the only one that thinks this way, or am I going crazy, or oh, am I weird?
Yeah.
And no,
Yes.
you're not alone. This is such a wild ride, you know. But it's, yeah, we want to be able to share those processes and practices and just
Yeah.
talking about it and the vulnerability and the openness and the connection to the heart and each other and spirit and all the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And manifestation, like I really, that was a big part of, is a big part of this, and a big piece that we want to bring in and even share about, as we are doing different practices for raising our vibration and manifesting certain things, that we're sharing what has come about for us, so we can be like, these are some things I've done, and look what I can share that's really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could share a little story now.
Yeah. Share a little story.
I'd love to share a story. Um, Yeah, so I feel like the past couple months I've really been diving into some daily practices around essentially raising my vibration, coming into a positive feeling state and a positive feeling mindset more often than not. Yes, there are ebbs and flows in our days, and we're not always going to be this, yes, life is amazing, like 100% of the time, right? Because we're human. Like, there's things that happen in our day.
Yeah, and there's a whole range of emotions, and they're
Yes.
like guideposts to let us know how different people and experiences resonate with us. So they're
Yes.
teaching us that's important for them to be there.
Hmm.
But it's important not to get caught in a loop
Yes.
of a lower feeling tone, or
Right.
a story that you're telling yourself over and over again that doesn't feel good.
Right. Right.
So those are the places where we're talking about these daily practices to uplift yourself, that help as almost like a salve to some of those loops, those thought loops and feeling loops we can get into, that
Hmm.
help lift us out of those.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's still honoring all of the range of emotions that you're speaking
Yeah.
of. It's not about trying to bypass anything and just be like, no, no, all is good, all is love and light, and I'm fine. And it's not about that. Like, yeah, we throughout our days and weeks and months, there's always an ebb and flow with that. So um yeah, having the daily practices to just be like, oh, okay, how can I begin my day just feeling really good? And when I notice myself maybe going into a story or a thought pattern that's not helpful, having a practice in place that allows you to choose something else
Yeah.
you know
Yes.
so yeah, so I've really been playing with a lot of different like meditations and mindsets and practices to keep my vibration high and feeling good, because ultimately I want to feel good more often than not, because it feels good. Feels good to feel good. Feels good to feel good. Yeah. Like, I want to be joyful. I want to be happy. I want to be optimistic. And I want to smile and spread that joy and love into the world.
Yes.
Um, but like, so this story, some manifestations that have happened for me that were unexpected. Um, Past couple weeks, I ended up subbing a couple yoga classes, and this kind of also goes back to that intuition, because when the opportunity arose, there was something in me that was like, do it, sub the classes. And I could have talked myself out of it. I could be like, well, it's kind of far, it's kind of a drive, and it's during rush hour, and all the stories that wanted to come up. But something in me was just like, do it. Just teach the classes. And they were awesome. Like, I'm so glad that I did. They were beautiful classes. And one of them, somebody, this woman came to my class, and we were talking a little bit. We just kind of clicked, and we were sort of like, we should be friends. Like, let's exchange information. Um, and then a week later, she sends me a message, and she asks me if I want to go to this concert, this band that I've known about since college and had always wanted to see. And she's like, hey, do you want to come to this show? I'm like, yeah, sure. What day? How much is the ticket? She's like, it's free. I'm like, oh, a free ticket to this band that I've always wanted to see. Okay, I'm available. Um, so that was really amazing. And then, I get to the venue, and I think there were like two different ways you could go for parking. One was like regular parking, and one was premier. And I'd never been to this venue before, so I was like, I don't know, this is the first turn, I'm going in. And I ended up in this lot that was like the premier lot, and they like the first guy just like was like, yeah, you got to go to that person. I get to up to that person, and I was supposed to have a parking pass. They're like, this is a like our premium lot, or I don't know how they said it, it's a $60 lot. And I was like, oh, well, just tell me where I need to go. Like, I don't have a parking pass. And they're like, just go to that next guy. And it was raining, it was like pouring down rain at this time. So I pull up to the next guy, and he says kind of the same thing. And I was like, oh, well, I could essentially, like, I'll go where I need to go. Like, I don't have a parking pass. And basically he was like, just park it next to that car. Like, so I get into this like $60 lot for free. I wasn't even asking. I wasn't like, please, can I come in? They were just like, go, just go. Then I get out to my car, and I get to the venue. I don't have to wait in line. I pretty much go right in. The rain stops by that time. And then, like, during the show, it's like I get multiple compliments on my outfit, and it's just this like really awesome, beautiful time. And this girl is amazing. We like just have an amazing time. And I
I
wasn't
love
looking
it.
for any of it. It just happened. And then I
Um,
was like, oh, I also saw a rainbow on the way to the show.
that's amazing.
So it's like, you know,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about how, like, sometimes we can dismiss these things and be like, oh, yeah, like, whatever, like, that was cool, but, you know,
That's what I was just gonna say. What I
yeah.
love about you telling this story is that you're actually noticing all these gifts that came out of this initial yes to this yoga class, this new friendship, the rainbow, the parking, the rain stopping, the show. It's just, and I think
Yes.
that's so beautiful that you're not taking anything for granted.
No, it was so wonderful. And yeah, like, it's important to acknowledge that, and to like
Mhm.
acknowledge that that is a manifestation of this like good
Yes.
space that I was in, and be like, hey, okay, so if I can put myself in this high vibrational state, and these beautiful things come out of nowhere, like, what else am I capable of by just feeling good?
By feeling, yes, and the fact that it all flows out of a state of
Mm,
tending to yourself and tending to good feelings.
and gratitude and
Mm,
appreciation. Yeah,
what could be better?
it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And but it's like, and also like not having this like expectation, like this has to happen now. Like,
Not at all, because already just by tending to feeling good, you're feeling good more and more.
mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself is a beautiful manifestation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, the whole point is to come into these practices and be like, how can I feel good? And sometimes we might have this idea, it's like, I want to do this because I want to manifest something, but also
Yeah.
letting go of like needing to manifest something and just appreciating that it feels good.
Right. Because imagine for a moment that nothing in your exterior world changed.
Yeah.
Same job, same home, same car, relationships, friendships, but all of a sudden you're feeling good almost all of the time. Like,
Majority of the time.
the majority of the time you feel really, really good.
I'll take that.
That sounds like an incredible blessing.
Right. Exactly. And that's what's so cool about it is like, even if that's it, like, well, gosh, that's it. Great.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Like, thank you. And then, oh, maybe some other cool things start to happen too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That was unexpected. Wow, what a blessing. And then through that, just even as I'm saying it, I'm feeling, you probably hear it in my voice.
Yes.
You see it in my body language if you're watching this and you're seeing me. I'm like, yeah, wow, expressive. Like as I think about it and talk about it and feel it, my whole body is just like, yes. It's just,
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible.
So, as we're talking about this, I feel like now would be a great time to maybe just share one simple practice that people could do, something maybe that you're doing right now every day that is really helping to lift you into this vibration.
Oh man, there's so many,
I know, but just one
I
really
mean,
good one.
I think one that anybody can do, so easy, any time of day, gratitude is just having gratitude. And I say just, there's no just. It's so powerful. And at any moment, even if you're in, a bad mood or something, like you can always find something to have gratitude for. And that can start the process. Because when you start thinking of one thing that you're gratitude or you're grateful for, you usually can start thinking of other things.
Yeah.
It's like it could be like, wow, I'm so thankful for this blue sky. I'm so thankful for my comfortable bed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
It
so
can
thankful.
be, I'm so thankful that I have this sweet friend to talk to about this challenge I'm moving through right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thankful that I have the space to feel this emotion. Like it can be
Yeah. Yes.
anything. And when you're, especially if you're in a challenging state, it's not like you have to come out of that and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful. Like it's a step. It's like, you know what? Okay, I do appreciate that. I still feel like I'm going through a challenge, but I do
Right.
appreciate this thing over here.
Right. You may not be moving into an ecstatic state of gratitude, like where Lindsay felt the rainbow, the concert, the new friendship, like how could it get any better than this? There's so much good is pouring in.
Right, right.
But yeah, sometimes it's those quieter states of gratitude where you just notice,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, I have this, I have the support, I have, this book that I always go back to and read a passage from that really helps me to feel into connection with spirit, connection with myself, something deeper.
Yeah. And we'll definitely get into a lot more of,
Yeah.
practices and, um, you know, because there's a lot to say in that space of going through a challenging situation and coming to gratitude. There are steps,
Yeah.
that you can work with. So there's so much more to say about this,
But
which is why we have a podcast.
yes. But for instance, if we're just talking about daily practices, not when, the worst thing in your life is happening, not when the best thing in your life was happening, but it's like a regular Tuesday and you're waking up and you're getting ready for work. What we're talking about is
Yeah.
having maybe a few phrases by your
Mhm.
bed or
Mm.
recorded on voice memo that you can say, I'm so grateful for this day. I woke up this day and I'm grateful that I have food to eat for breakfast, that I have a cup of coffee I get to grab at work, or whatever
Mhm.
it is that you love to have in the morning, you know, that I have this breath, this inhale, this
Mhm.
exhale.
Yeah.
I can put my hand on my heart and just take 3 breaths and give myself love. And I'm so grateful for that to
Mhm.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And gratitude is just one. Gratitude is just one practice.
yeah,
That's what's so great about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to share a little
Mm.
something that
Mm.
you guys can take away with you and start to practice and feel into this, feel
Absolutely.
into what we're
Yes.
talking about, just with where am I? Where am I in my daily state of energy, of upliftment, of mood? Where's my mood?
Yeah.
And just starting to notice, because
It's a great
many
place.
times we could be in a low state for days and not really be conscious of it because we're so focused on just the things we need to get
Right.
done in a practical sense.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that really doesn't take a lot of time. You don't have to be meditating for an hour a day to do this. This
Unless you
is
want
just, unless you want to,
to.
but
Yeah.
really just as a way to give you something really practical that you can work with and weave in
Yeah.
at any point during your day without, like, quote unquote costing you any time.
Right. And what you're saying is so important too, is just that awareness of, just coming into a deeper level of awareness of how you're feeling in any given moment and knowing you have a choice, to shift that if you want to. But like awareness is really that first step. you
Yeah.
know? And kind of what you're saying is like sometimes we get so caught up in like, oh, this task has to happen, and we forget to even check in with ourselves, and it's so important.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so much more to share on manifestation and intuition, and we'll be expanding more on our story throughout our episodes as well, and sharing
Yeah.
our journeys.
Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah. And we hope that this just gives you a chance to meet us,
Yeah.
know a little bit more about us.
Hmm.
So virtual. Hey, nice to
Hello.
meet you.
Nice to meet you all. We're so glad you're here with us.
We really are. We really
Seriously,
are.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it really means a lot to have, yeah, anybody listening. We just appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
So much. And we love you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. We love you so much.
Yeah.